Is it possible for you to be at your best when you're completely out of your depth? Let's take a look at that issue on this episode. Going back a few years, I had spoken at a global conference, members conference, at an event in Brussels, Belgium. And some nice feedback afterwards. It's always good for the ego to get that sort of thing. And one particular practitioner was from New York, and I enjoyed your comments, Martin, appreciated what you had to say, and if you're ever in New York, you should stop on by. And unfortunately, I'm very naive and from the north, and I actually thought that was meant. And so when I was in New York, I did try to stop by. And so I ended up in this enormous skyscraper in the center of Midtown Manhattan. And the kind of place that was really high tech even years ago. So when you booked a meeting, they asked for photo ID. And when you walk into the building for that meeting, as you approach the desk clerk says, Mr. Bissett, here to meet so-and-so, yeah, in that lift up to that floor. And you go, how on earth did you know it was me? He said, well, we have sensors and cameras on the door, and they match your face to who we were expecting to have here, and we knew it was you by the time you got to the desk. And you're like, whoa, I'm in some kind of advanced place here. So I go up in the lift and I'm shown to the meeting room, and the meeting room is unbelievable. It looks all the way down Manhattan. So I had, Brooklyn on my left, and I had New Jersey on my right, and Statue of Liberty in Ellis Island, and the Freedom Tower was being built at that time. And so it's so incredible to see that. But for me, at that part of my career, this was at a bigger scale than I'd played at previously. So, a little bit jittery that perhaps I'm just a wee bit out of my depth. So anyway, the person who I'm due to see comes in, and you can tell straight away. You can tell sometimes, can't you, body language, speed of voice, that sort of thing, whether or not they've got time for you, whether or not they were expecting you, whether or not they're ready for you, whether or not they wish they weren't with you. You can tell that, can't you, quite early on. And in this case, it was somebody who didn't have time for chit-chat, that's for sure. So taking little sips of their water bottle and checking the watch as I'm talking. Very off-putting. But, you're gonna come up against these things. So I had a go, did the best I could. I was asking questions all about the practice and all about the people and all about the opportunities and so on. And I was getting shut down everywhere, on every line of inquiry. And at that point, I thought this meeting is gonna be over in 15 minutes. And the last thing I had in my armory to throw out is a question. I simply asked the question, so how was last year for the practice? And the person I was meeting with said, yeah, actually, not that good. And I went, oh, yes, oh, shame. Why was that? And they said, well, Martin, from a partner point of view, in terms of our take-home pay and what we were able to draw down from the practice, very poor year. I said, really? They said, yeah, none of us took home more than $2.1 million last year. I went, each? And he went, yeah. I was like, Now, at this point, there are two voices in my head. Voice number one, on this side, saying, you're out of your depth, little boy. Wrap the meeting up, get out, and go back to being a tourist in New York. That's what all you're fit for. And the other voice, better voice, said, there is no such thing as a situation which cannot be improved. So with those two voices in my head, I gulped slightly, collected myself, and said, 2.1, what would have been a good year? And he said, well, I don't know, about 2.5, 2.6 is what we tend to expect. I said, and that's a good year for you? He said, yeah, that's a good year for us. And I said, 2.6, okay. How do you know it shouldn't be 3.1? And suddenly he stopped, took a sip of his water, and said, go on. I'm out of my depth. I didn't have a follow-up sentence to that. I have no idea what comes next. Boom. But that was the day that I learned that no matter what size of practice I'm in, from a sole practitioner up to a multi-million pound firm like this one was, their issues are exactly the same. Only the scale of issue ever changes. So whether it's we can't get the right people, that's true of the sole practitioner and the multi-million pound firm. Our fee growth isn't strong enough, we're not got a high enough average fee, the write-downs are too much, our recoveries aren't high enough. It's the same wherever we go. And I was learning that in real time in this conversation, realizing that I had the solution for the issues in this practice, but I was talking myself down because I'd never dealt with a firm of that size, that I couldn't possibly deal with a firm of that size. Not true. Not true of me, not true of you either. So when you come up against a client that you have never dealt with before, an area of specialism that you've never dealt with before, we've all got to start somewhere. And this is your first time. Principles don't change. They're the constant. So as a result, I learned that I had a solution. I learned that my pipeline methodology and my sales methodology and my pricing methodology, they were all applicable in this firm, just at a much different level than I've been used to previously. So from being out of my depth, the very best of me came out because I learned one of the greatest lessons of my career. The issues are always the same, only the scale of them and size of them changes. So what I want to think about this week for you is what brings out the best in you. Do you have to stretch beyond your comfort zone, what you're used to dealing with, the normal type of client, the normal type of engagement, to grow, to come up with a brand new service line, a brand new value proposition that you can bring out to businesses everywhere once you've done it for the first time? Do you need to try something and risk being out of your depth to become the best? If you want help with that self-esteem, that pipeline build, whatever it is you need, just click the link below this and I'll be able to get you a resource across straight away. Until then, I'll see you on the next episode of The Best. Bye for now.